So this is a piece of yew that somebody gave me way back here, I guess.
That's the biggest piece of yew I ever saw.
I know. Yeah, I know. This is about 14 inches.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah. And I know a tree guy in the area, and he gave it to me. He said it's the biggest piece he ever saw as well. I'm trying to clear it up. I don't know if you could see it, but the grain is really nice in this thing. And I don't know if you could see this knot here.
yeah.
When I had it in the vacuum chuck to finish off the bottom. And I started hearing something. I shut the lathe off, and I actually watched it go in, and I stuck my finger over it. So I was able to keep it to where I was able to mark the center so that I could, fix this, glue the knot back in, which I found. I thought I was gonna have to fill it with something else, but I found the knot. So I glued it back in, and then I was able to put it back on the vacuum chuck, center it, and finish up the bottom.
Great looking piece.
I actually heard it, and I I watched this knot getting sucked in. Yeah, it was pretty cool. Anyway, I rounded I started doing the edges rounded, and I left it a little wide, and I don't know if you could tell by the by the video, but this is really undercut quite a bit.
Yeah, you can see that.
And yeah, I usually don't undercut them this much, but I wanted to try to get the thickness up here, which I did. I don't know how well it came out, but I think it's pretty good. And then this one is the core from that.
Ah. That would be the second biggest piece of yew I ever saw.
From the same log, yeah. So yeah, that's it. So and I didn't know if you saw that, but I did do some repairs in this one.
Ah. That's the first one you showed?
This is the first one, the 14-inch.
Oh, okay.
And I did some repairs in this one as well.
Got a whole family of repairs.
Yep. There's on there. They even got one, I don't know if you can see it, but there's a pith or something here, and not the branch came out that I was going to look like it was going to crack, so I put a small bow tie in that one. It's hard to get. I don't know how clear that looks to you, but I don't know if you can see it right there.
Yeah, we're good. That's
okay. That's it. That's all I got.
Very nice.
Gary,
by the way, I might. Does anybody know about hotels in that area for when Ernie comes into town?
In Lancaster?
Yeah.
There's a lot of them.
Yeah. How is it in the summertime?
Pretty easy. Warmer.
It's not too hot.
There's about 5 that are under construction right now.
Just search New Holland, right? For the session here, right?
Oh, I was thinking I'm down on 30.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah,
Gary.
I'll check into that.
Gary, I'm the secretary. If you want to just email me and I can give you some ideas, I'll just ask around a little.
Okay. Okay, appreciate that.
Gary, what did you use for coring?
I have the one-way coring system.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah. I one of the guys in the club has a McNaughton, and I mean, everything I read about it and hear about it, it's difficult to learn how to use. What do you guys think?
That's what I use.
I agree. That's why I bought the woodcut one.
Okay.
I sold the one way in favor of a McNaughton.
You sold your one way, you used the McNaughton?
So the one way system and bought the McNaughton. I've been using it.
McNaughton's got more flexibility of shape. So
It looks it to me. Yeah, I'm playing around with the, with the distance and the size of the knives to try to get a different angle going in. And you're limited, with the one way, no doubt. But yeah.
System a little fussy to set up.
Right.
Okay, so I've been doing some inlay.
Showing?
It's a lidded box inlaid with abalone.
Nice. Cool.
And another lidded box, oops, up there. I can get that to light up.
What is the inlay material there?
Synthetic opal. And this one's set in acrylic. The abalone is set NCA. I like the acrylic much better.
Well, the acrylic you could turn smooth after your inlay, right?
Yeah, you can with the CA too, but you have to be careful. The acrylic's easier to dome also. So,
What acrylic are you using, Mark?
I do a number of those. These are two I had on hand.
Someone asked, what acrylic are you using?
Oh, it's what Easy Inlay sells. It's a UV setting acrylic. It sets almost instantly. You can work it right away. 5 minutes out in the sunshine and it's turnable. Whereas CA can be days where it's hard enough to turn.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Before we turn to the in-house show and tell and challenges, as a club fundraiser, if you will, one of our members, John Wallach, has, I think they number in the hundreds of N95 masks. There's 10 masks in a package. I guess if anybody's interested, we can tear the package open so you can inspect it. These were purchased for a hospital apparently late in COVID, and they received them. They are the KN95. I'll open this thing. Anyhow, we'd like to get $3 a bag. That's 30 cents a piece. There's 10 in the bag here. And John brought several bags in. So if I'm pretty lazy about cleaning the filters on my real respirator. And so my go-to thing is I grab an N95. I didn't get any of these, but I bought them on sale fairly recently. And I think they're a great replacement for a real mask for dust. So if we come up and look at them on the break, after we get all through with the show and tell, have at it, and like to get $3 per bag. Give it to our treasurer here.
Can I just ask one thing? If there's interest in that, please let Barry or somebody know, because I have a crate of them at home, like 5,000 of the pins, and I can bring them all in on Saturday. I get them for nothing. I mean, they're being donated to us. But if, I'm not going to bring a whole crate in to gather dust if you're not interested. But it's a hell of a deal.
It is.
Are they supposed to gather dust?
Thank you.
You're right.
So I did some inlay work. This was a piece of walnut. I have a lot of walnut. So I inlaid on the rim, it's soapstone, and then also the cross is soapstone. And so I got it together, and then the rim looked really horrible because it was just dots. So then I did the carving, and then I burned the carving, and I tried to do gold leaf on the rim, and it didn't go so well. So I took it off and just used iridescent paint instead. And I like it. I think it came out well. So
Your soapstone looks great.
I got the soapstone at the hardware store.
Really?
For marketing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So did it come in like a rod, like a dowel?
Yeah. They come in round,
Okay.
and they also come in flat. They're 1/4-inch rounds and about 3/8 by 1/2 inch, or however wide that is, in flats.
Is it real soapstone or?
It's real soapstone.
Which
Yeah.
hardware store?
Most any of them that have any welding supplies in them, because that's what welders use to mark their metals.
Oh, okay.
So
Is the perimeter of the cross, that looks like it is gold leaf, isn't it?
no, it's not. It's a little bit of mica and CA.
Oh, okay.
Because I just filled up because having the route so deep, I used my micromotor to finish trimming and rotary tool and grain sometimes don't go straight.
So
So
you didn't use a router guide for the cross pattern?
no, I just free-handed it. So
And did you have to really plunge deep to get that?
yeah, it was the length of my bit. Just it was just deep enough. Well, what I did is this was up a little bit higher before I did the inlay, and then I finished turning down to the final depth.
So once you had the inlay on those spots, you just sand them off, or what happened?
Well, I turned it.
Turned it, then
Yeah.
destroy your tool completely?
No, it's so soft. Soapstone is super, super soft. It's an eighth of the hardness of the wood.
Okay.
So
It's talc, isn't it? I mean, basically, it's hard talc.
it's like it's a stone. It's a fractured stone, but it's very, very soft.
So
I made this as a ravioli rolling pin. Now, this was the prototype, and there's a bunch of issues with it. First of all, I glued two pieces together, and that was not good. So you need a piece of 12-quarter maple to start with. I made the pockets way too narrow and way too shallow. So, again, this is the prototype. And if you can see that shape in there, your whole ravioli would have to fit in there. So it's not much room for any good stuff, right?
Pretty small ravioli.
Yeah. So, like I said, this is the prototype. And then of course, I put a picture on Facebook, and a whole bunch of people, I want one. So,
How does that work?
so you roll your dough out, okay? And what I did was, I don't want to go over my time here, but what I did find is I made some with 7 pockets and then some with 3 pockets. And I wouldn't recommend going more than 3 or 4 pockets wide. This is way too big because it's hard to roll the dough out that wide. So roll the dough out, cut the sides, and try to line up your cuts with, okay? And then put your filling, a little bit of filling about midway, and fold it over away from you. Then you put this on and you press down your roll, and the filling ends up going in where the pockets are. And it works pretty well. I actually have done it a couple times. So
you don't actually need 4 sides. You could just have 1. Because you don't roll a sheet on do a sheet, filling a sheet, and then roll it down. You're folding the dough over.
I fold the dough over just so that you have a top and bottom.
Right, you're not laying 2 pieces of dough on it and using a rolling pin to press it down like you would a hand roller.
You could, I guess you could have a piece of dough on the bottom and a piece on the top.
Because then you need 4 sides.
Right, but this works like that.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so
the filling seals the top and bottom together?
No, the walnut rails is what seals the flat part between the raviolis.
Right, but I mean, what holds the 2 together after you roll over? Just the compression?
Just pressure, you can probably wet it a little bit, might help it stick.
Okay.
A little bit.
Barry, can you make a spray jig for that, please?
The guy that was making these on YouTube had a really cool jig. He was cutting these pockets in like 5 seconds. He had a router mounted above his lathe and a lever like a drill press in with notches and big, wide, round nose. Move to the next notch. And I can't do that, so I had to cut them by hand. And they took me about 20 minutes a piece.
Okay. Interesting.
So next month we bring the ravioli. This is not for high volume production.
They have 2 hours.
Yeah. So that's that. And one other little thing I heard somebody mention they made a drum sander or a lathe for a couple of you guys. Really? I made one of those on my I had an old shop smith that my dad had given me, and I used it a little bit, and then I was building an electric guitar, and I wanted to figure out a way to put a 12-inch radius on the fretboard. And so this is a drum, fits in my drum sander. And the neat part about this is the way that I carved this. I think it's kind of cool. I had a router, again, a router. I mounted it on a little cradle horizontally with a pin 12 inches from the bit and swung it, inched in a little bit. It was pretty sketchy while I was doing it because I didn't know if I was going to get a climb cut in the trailing edge, but it seemed to work out perfectly. And then I did actually made a fretboard, had a beautiful 12-inch radius on there. So,
is the sandpaper self-adhering?
no. So what I did was after I cut this with router, I sanded that a little bit, and then I put a couple coats of lacquer or poly or something on it to seal the wood, and then contact cement.
Okay.
And these are little strips I cut off, like some of those belts I saw with like a belt sander. Up back, pretty tough stuff.
Were you holding this in your lathe?
Yes.
Why did you make it so long? You only needed the...
That's how wide my drum sander was. I made a drum sander in my lathe. It was...
Oh, you didn't just put it in a chuck and put a tailstock on it.
Well, I did.
But you made your fretboard in your drum sander machine.
Correct.
To hold it flat.
Correct.
I got it.
Yes. So, anyway, I don't know if this is... if you want to see some videos of this, there's a guy on YouTube that makes these. I have some videos of me, rolling the raviolis and making this. I don't know if that's allowed or not to plug your...
DIY ravioli maker?
Well, the dude was selling his for like $100. And then the 3-pocket ones, I think he was getting $80. So
you make nice wood. You can make a beautiful layout nice.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, this one's got a few cosmetic issues and it's too small, but the other ones, I got the $80 for the big ones and $60 for the small ones.
So I had to learn how to make an exactly sized dowel. I needed to make a threaded rod. This is going to be one of 3 pendulums in a gadget I'm making, a contraption. I made all 3. In fact, I made 6. This is a thread box, so this is like threaded all the way along here. What I found is that it has to be, well, it's too soft. This is maple, but it has to be the exact dimension or under. It has to be 11/16 or a little bit under. If it's a little bit over, what happens is you wind up forcing the thread box, and there's enough pressure on the threads to break the thread. So if the rod is even a little bit large, you wind up with broken threads. So the whole trick is to get it between centers, but no pressure from this end. If you have any pressure from this end, the rod will bow in the middle, and you can't get it round. So it has to be held, and I'm turning this around, go 1800, just on a little point at this end and in a chuck at this end. And what you do is what I do is I get both ends round first. I'm going for 11/16, so I'm starting with about 7/8. And then you start in the middle with a skew and just very carefully pare it down, get the middle right, and then you work this way, and then you work this way.
Hey, John, why don't you just do the demonstration and leave it at that?
I'm sorry.
You just finished my demonstration.
That was you going to demo tonight?
Yeah.
Okay, well, good. I'm glad you're going to demo it tonight.
He's not putting threads on.
Can you hold it up for me, please?
Thomas.
When you're doing something that long, for people who don't know, and you haven't had that bowing effect, and you're not as good at John as John is, you can put your tailstock end in a chuck on an adapter, so it will free spin, and then you can put a drawbar in so that you can actually draw your tailstock away and create tension on the piece.
Yeah, I've heard of people doing that.
Rather than pressure on the piece, and you will not have that flex that you're trying to avoid by being super gentle.
Yeah, I've heard of people doing that, but I found that there's a knack in it, and you can get the knack, and the knack is you want to hold it in place and keep it from jumping up.
Right.
Yeah, and what the tendency is always to pull it towards the tool rest with your guiding hand.
Yeah.
So it's always a 2-hand operation, one hand around the work and the other hand nibbling away with the skew.
Yeah, and having done a lot of essentially cylinders, but of wider diameter, you can also use a parting gouge, just go down to depth every inch or whatever, and then
Not an
go
issue.
right
Yeah.
along. Why not?
You'll climb the parting, it'll break. You try parting in the middle, it just climbs the parting tool. I just found that did not
it's under
work.
tension, it might not.
Yeah, tension will make a difference. Yeah. Anyway, that's my adventure this week.
Why does it have to go so far up and so far down? What is the contraption?
The contraption is a drawing machine that uses 3 pendulums, and you can beat one frequency into another with the ratio of where the weight is. So I'm raising and lowering the weights on the pendulum rods, and I want to be very precise about it.
Are you doing this for fun or for a project that you're commission or just something you're building?
It's a project. Another friend of mine and I did one we made a contract. It's called a harmonograph. We made one about 7 years ago, and I went to visit him, and it isn't working really well. And we said, well, let's bring it up and repair it. I said, well, you know what? I know how to make this better, so I'm just making another one.
So you should bring it in when you're done with it, so we can see it.
Might be a bit big to bring in. We'll see. It has to have a table, but I'll bring a video if I don't.
How committed are you, man?
How committed are you? Well, if you want to carry it up the stairs,
I'll carry it up the stairs for you.
Sure.
John, I'm sorry, I might have missed it. How did you chase the threads?
Red box. This is
So you did that slowly, not when that was turning.
No, this is standing up in a vise, and I'm just doing this.
Okay. Yep.
The whole trick with this is to start it level and keep it level.
Yeah, right.
And if the dowel's the right size, it goes easy. If the dowel is a little small, it's okay. If the dowel is a little big, you break the thread.
The threads, yeah. Okay.
Okay, thanks.
Wow. Cool.
This is my second attempt at this bowl. The first attempt, I had about the same width in there, but it was a little deeper, and I had put turquoise in it. And then I tried to fill the turquoise up with an epoxy resin. And by doing that, I had like a 1-inch clear tube that I welded or I glued all the way around. Then I drilled little holes and I could inject the clear resin into it. It did not work. It was a disaster. So I ended up going to the lathe and cutting it off and starting all over again. So then I was looking around the shop, seeing what I could use, and I found the dowel. So this is a poplar dowel, 1/2 inch. So I went around there, equally put it around. And I've always wanted to try to put metal band into the wood. And this was my experiment. So I did that, and I looked again. I had built a pool table, and I had some leftover metal bands from the pool table accents. So I put that in there. I think it pulled out a little bit. I put it in with some CA glue, and it got kind of messy. So then I had to turn the glue off. I really couldn't get it to sand off. And when I started turning off the glue on both sides of the metal band, it brought the band back up. Now, hey, that was a little, a Bob Ross moment, a little happy accident. And so it worked out well. I could see where it came out just a little bit. I might have to repair it. I think in hindsight, I would have put maybe a hose clamp around it to hold it in, push it in a little bit. I originally was going to do it with sterling silver, but when I computed the circumference and then went online to see what the sterling silver, it would have been $200 to $300 for sterling silver of the same size. So I went back to the brass, and I think the brass was better because to get it in there after I put the CA glue, I had a little tap hammer and I was like banging it in. And I don't think that the silver would have stood up as well to the hammering. I think it would have faceted it. So that's Blackwall.
Can you show us the inside?
You can see the
brass is 1-piece ring.
1-piece ring all the way around.
Oh, it's not a brass rod.
It is a brass rod. It's. I think it's. I don't know. It's almost like a 10 gauge.
So did you butt the joints
I
or
did.
miter?
I butted them. I was originally thinking if I did with the silver, I could have welded the silver together. I have a jeweler's oxyacetylene torch, so it's a real small flame, but it's oxyacetylene, so I could get it real hot real quick and out. I don't think it would have burned the wood that much, but with the brass, it would have been taking a lot more heat and a little bit longer. So that's about it. So maybe I would like to try that again with the inlay, the stone, but when it was sitting on the lathe, you know what I'm doing. It's like running out and dripping out. So I don't know how I'm going to do it. had one guy said you need like an L bracket and you could fill it up. And the only thing I think was it ain't gonna work. But we'll try that. So I'm gonna go back to that. I'm gonna revisit that and see if I can get a like a turquoise in it. I modeled that after a Navajo style.
So the other thing with your resin,
Yes.
you use the UV resin.
Okay.
It sets in 5 minutes. Then you can fill one of your pockets.
And move on.
And then,
Okay.
1 to 3 of your pockets, and then move to the next.
Yeah, I had
after you
thought about that. If it's like this, I could fill maybe that much.
Yeah.
But with the resin I was using, I'd have to come back in like 2 days and.
Yeah, now with the UV, is it sets in 5 minutes.
Okay, I'll do that.
10 minutes.
And it turns and it's pretty clear. Epoxy. It's a what kind of resin?
UV.
UV. Okay. All right. Well, this is it. An experiment.
This is something I was working on this week, just to show it. But I've been making a few small vases, and I call them ant traps. This is a piece of leftover Honduras rosewood that I got from Angelo, I think. And another thing, just making these small little vessels just to see what they look like. Anyway. It works on bigger items too. It doesn't need to be, it's just a small.
What finish are you using though?
This is actually just bio polish. So it's just there's no varnish or anything like that. It's just carnauba wax.
They're hollowed.
Yeah.
All the way.
Yeah, all the way down. So yeah, they're pretty. Yeah.
So I bought a couple of things I'm working on. So this is a piece, I was asked to make a piece for the Center for, or the Museum for Art and Woods annual auction. So this piece is called Circuitous, and it's just shag bark hickory, but it's been bleached a bunch of times, so I bleached it. I was thinking about using gold leaf and just following something down and just leafing that one thing, but I thought about how hard that would be and how long it would take me. And I thought, this is nice. It's really nice. I like this piece just like it is. So that's.
Thomas, do you get concerned about too much bleach and breaking down the lignin strength of the wood?
No, not at all. And I spray it with vinegar afterwards, so it's neutralized. This doesn't have finish on it yet. I haven't decided whether I'm going to finish it or not. There's something nice about it in the raw, but I might put some shellac or lacquer, spray lacquer or something on it. I don't know.
Thomas, are you using like real bleach for that, or the bleaching product?
It's homemade, but it's the wood bleach. It's just homemade. It's just peroxide and lye, essentially. Taught to me by Dave Souza, who did that demo with me. Is Dave here? Oh no, Dave didn't do it here. This is a piece that's in process, but it'll be done before next month's meeting, and I don't know that I'll get a chance to show it to you. So that one is called Scott's Tower because it's a kilt pattern. And I can turn it on with a little turntable, but it'll be exactly the same on the other side. And this one, I can't, because they're so bright in here, I can't really show you what's going on here. But this one has gold paint on the inside, and it's a really reflective gold paint. When this tube wasn't pierced and I shot a flashlight down, the light on the end of it coming out was brighter than the light going in because that's how reflect. I mean, that's what I felt like. So I'm going to turn this into a hanging lamp. There are going to be 3 or 4 or 5 of these, and the reason I brought it in is not because it looks so great when it's not lit up, though it's all right. But this is a good example of putting multiple layers of the color shifting mica on. The underneath of this is purple. I didn't paint it black. it's this stuff called Dragon Spit or something. It's like some cheap gel stain that you get at Michael's that has some sparkly stuff in it. And I thought that'd be interesting. It's crap, but it made a nice purple base. And then I put a couple of different colors of mica wax on, and then I buffed those off, and then I finished with some sort of homemade interference paint. So like what you would call a ghost mica powder, and put that in a paint. And I'm really happy with the way it reflects, because it still looks purple, but it's got this like super cool teal stripe down it. So come up or go back there at the break and take a look at it under light. And
Does that light help show what it looks like?
I don't know.
Or
Can you see? So like light at 90 degrees, you'll see it.
How about that?
Yeah, maybe, I don't know. But I hear this hits you on the head if you don't. No, this is just a purple.
Perpendicular to the light, so it shines through the hole through the two.
Oh, well, I was going to use my phone flashlight, but you got to turn you can't see the shadow, but it makes like a chrysanthemum. It's got all these really, and the gold, if you have a white ceiling, the gold actually is gold on the ceiling. So so I'm thinking if the floor is, marble or something, it'll be gold on the marble in this chrysanthemum pattern. It's super cool. I wasn't expecting that to happen. I just sort of made this shape. And I used one of those, the architectural eraser.
White.
So it's not the eraser, but in architecture they have a little shield.
Oh, the shield. So
the shield has the little teardrop on it and the little parentheses, and I put those two together to make this sort of Art Deco-y pattern. Right. So that's that. And then just quickly, because I know, this is a collab piece that I made with Dan Zobel and a guy named Joe Seltzer, who's a collector, and me. And Joe Seltzer turned the bowl. Dan's signature is these sort of zigzaggy things that he does. And then, so I had him do the zigzaggy things, and then I burned it, and then I gold leafed it. Oh, sorry. Jesus. So sorry, Doug. Holy crap. So I think it turned out pretty cool. Don't know what we're going to do with it yet. It's a collab, so it'll have to go into an auction and raise money for something.
Spin it. There you go.
That's that.
Hey Thomas, when you do your cylinders, do you drill that
to core the inside?
It's tapped, with a Forstner. Yeah, and then put on a mandrel. I did it here. Didn't I do it here?
Yeah.
I thought I did it here. So then I've been making these candle holders for the halibut. They're easy to give as gifts, and they're fun to do, and they're quick. And I thought, well, that color shifting I didn't love it, so I needed something to zhuzh it up. So I gold leafed the back with what they call, it's called variegated, because they take heat and apply it to the gold leaf, so you get the color, the green and the and there's a couple different ones. This one's actually a tie-dye pattern, but I interrupted the tie-dye pattern because I thought you guys maybe had seen enough of tie-dye. But on the sheet, so tie-dye burst, and I just reversed it so it would shoot inward instead of shooting outward. So that's that one. I'll show you one more, and then I promise I'll stop. Oh, I might show you two more. So I've been trying to figure out how to use mica shifting paste in layers and not destroy the underneath to make richer color. And I think I figured it out. This has a shifting paste on the outside and on the inside. You can't really see the inside well on the camera, but it turns a sort of teal and then purple. And the outside is this mauve gold green. And this is the first piece I've done where if you look at it and you don't move, the light, you can still see all the colors. The previous attempts at this, I've made this convex shape purposely to get the light to bounce off it, but it never really did this, and I'm really happy with this one because you don't have to move the piece. You can see the multicolors right there, right? Yeah. So that to me is cool. But again, it wasn't cool enough, so I zhuzhed it up with some gold leaf, and this time I burned the lines. I don't think I burned the lines in this one, right? Yeah, I didn't burn that one. So I burned the lines to give them a little more distinct thing. And then this is actually layered. This is a couple different colors of
gilder's paste. Now on the camera, what you can see is purple, and maybe you could see where the light is. It makes it sort of look blue, but it's purple and blue and green, and then a green blue over the top, and then the purple, blue, and green again. And it's built up on this so much that it's got this real rich quality that a single color doesn't have for me. So I think I'm tapping into something here that will be useful in the near future. And then I did another. So I like this variegated stuff, but I like the plain too. I think there's different applications. This is like an amoeba pattern. They come in all kinds of different, there's 4 or 5 or 6 different kinds of the variegated. It's fun to do, it's easy to do. I think it looks good. Wrapping the edges can be difficult, so, no, but it's, once you figure it out, it really does. Wrapping the edges looks much nicer than not wrapping the edges, in my opinion. It looks sort of one-dimensional or two-dimensional if you don't wrap the edge. Anyway, that's what I got.
Finally got some time to do some turning, so I did for all these very simple bowl. The bowl is I did try to put some type of texture on the outside, and it is undercut slightly. So when you grab it, it feels solid. It's a heavier bowl. I didn't want it to be too fragile, too thin. So it's cherry with walnut oil and beeswax finish. Just as simple. And I was pleased with this. You can see the pattern on the inside came out very symmetrical. So it came out really well, and I was happy with that.
Did you say you textured the bottom?
No, I just had some.
Oh, you added some brims and stuff.
Being a new turner, this is a major step for me.
That's a beautiful detail. Really nice. And the surface on the bottom.
Yeah, I added a little bit on the bottom there to give it some less boring detail to it, and just playing around with a little logo, just trying to see what it looks like. So simple little bowl, but I'm pleased with it, and it's my level, so I'm glad to share it with you guys.
Detail on the back. See how close we can get. There you go. That's crazy. You just finished that.
Yeah, I just finished that today. This morning.
Well, you're lazy, Susan, here. It was pretty much green when I turned it into its pre-spiral shape. But it's an 18 flute. And yes, I use my spiraling jig to make. The finish on here is, it feels almost like soapstone. It's that Osmo. I don't know that I'll use it again on something that has hollow features on it. It goes on almost, it's almost like applying anchor seal. It goes on white, and unlike most things that go on white, it does not turn clear. And only after I put it on did I read on the label that it says, don't use it on dark woods for effectively. It goes on like about like this acrylic-based polyurethane.
And you buff it off?
And I wiped it down as well as I could, and then I did put a coat of the popular
Waterlock?
Was that Waterlocks, right? And then I buffed it, and but in the valleys you can still see white, especially in the scratches that I failed to sand out. It really shows up.
Beautiful piece. Yeah, nice berries.
The other thing is kind of, I'm not sure if it more honors Amish or Mike back there with this. But anyhow,
we put it on the thing.
It's I want to show the video.
Smoker.
That's a sin.
Well, they'd already smoked theirs with Pete.
Yes, exactly.
But if you want to turn your crappy Irish whiskey into scotch, this is what you do.
I never heard of these things until about a month ago at a guy's house, and it's mainly for bourbon or scotch, brown liquor. But you go to bars now, and all the bars seem to have them. And at craft shows, I'm looking on YouTube, and people are making them. You can make any kind of shape you want on the top or on the bottom. It's basically, you can buy these inserts. They're 4 for $9. They're a double screen, very fine stainless steel mesh, and they're like $9 for 4. Buy them on Amazon. And you put some your favorite wood shavings in there, cherry in this case, and hit it with the little torch. And the holes on the bottom, the one that I saw at the guy's house that he bought had the hole right in the center. Don't do that. Some bits of wood ash can fall through, and then you got an embarrassing looking drink. So the holes are on the side, in this case 6 holes, and it just fits into the glass. And this has a loose fitting top. These guys online are selling them for between $25 and $40, and they can be a real money maker. I mean, it's basically scrap wood almost. So
What's the gizmo called?
Well, a cocktail smoker. If you Google Amazon cocktail smoker, there's probably
I find all kinds of neat
30
stuff
manufacturers
that
in all kinds of shapes. None look Amish. Okay, Doug.
I have one. Just one commercial interlude. I brought up a number of mulberry logs, of which this is the smallest, to avoid having to lug them all upstairs and have you all lug them back downstairs. They're in the back of my truck, so if you want one, put your donation in the can and take one on your way out.
We're in the back of your truck, but I came late.
You're mulberry rich.
Yeah, I am.
Okay.
Garage was ethics poor, though.
What's that?
Ethics poor, but mulberry rich.